Hey Rifters, welcome to the show. I got the video on. Excellent. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Very excited. Uh we're approaching over 300 episodes. By the time this comes out, it will be over 300 episodes. So thank you so much. It's been a very fun 10 years. It's also been a very stressful 10 years, but it's been great. Um I wanted to say thank you. This is the first interview I've recorded past the 300, so I haven't done real thank yous and stuff. But I wanted to say thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you for letting me enjoy this and stuff. And we lost a big part of the show with Alan Lee, and I think about him every day, and part of the reason why I'm still doing the show is because I know that's what he would want. And so I do get some emails about how the show's been a little different. And I agree, but you know, unfortunately the truth is it'll never go back to how it was. It'll just go into a different direction, and that direction could be good and that direction could just stay the same that it's on. So it can never get worse or better. So that's the good news. But I do thank you guys. Hey, subscribe, rate, review on Apple Podcasts. We gotta get those reviews up. Last time I looked, we were at like 113. The producer of the show, she's always like, "We gotta get more reviews." I was like, "I know, so we gotta do that." Um, Yeah, we're also on Patreon. I'm supposed to plug that every show. www.patreon.com/razorriff61 because every single podcast named Razor Riffs, apparently there's 60 plus podcasts named Razor Riffs on Patreon. That's my new theory. I don't know. Maybe it's a dumb theory. I don't know. Hey guys, we got a great show. You've seen this guy in Something About Mary, Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin. You're next. I think he's one of the best comic actors in every movie he does. His scenes are, I like to call him a scene stiller actor, which I think is probably the best type of actor because you watch a movie and you see these scenes, and those scenes you always remember. And so yeah, I think it's gonna be great. We got the great Rob Moran coming with us over Zoom. So it's gonna be great, guys. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. I'm very excited. You should be very excited. Enjoy Razor Riffs with Rob Moran coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Razor Riffs with your host, Keith Razor.
Hey, boys.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing good. It's good to officially meet you via Zoom.
Nice to meet you as well. This is like the first time I think I've ever been on time for something. This is wonderful.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm always used to being like 20 minutes before in case people are early and want to get out early. You know what I mean? So I'm like prepared. I'm like,
Sure, sure.
So
Are you in LA?
I am, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're in
Well,
you're in the great
I appreciate
Atlanta.
you getting up. We're in hot Atlanta. Yeah, man, and it is warm. I got to tell you, but it's warm out there too, I've heard.
I haven't gone outside yet, but yesterday was pretty pretty warm. But yeah. So
Where do you live? What part?
I live in Huntington Beach, which is about 40 miles away from
Uh,
Los Angeles.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, you used to be in LA, right? So
For years, had a great time there. Yeah,
yeah.
raised my girls there with my wife Julie. Had a wonderful time, and yeah, really had a great time. And then it was getting pretty expensive, pretty crowded in Santa Monica, and we have all our families back on the East Coast here, up and down. So I've got brothers. I got three brothers, and they're scattered up and down the East Coast, mostly in New England. And so we're back here in Atlanta with a great airport. We can get anywhere. It works out great.
Now, maybe I'm wrong on this, but doesn't Atlanta have a good like film department state too? Like a Atlanta Hollywood type thing?
I'll tell you, Keith, it's crazy. What brought me here was I was working with Pete and Bobby. We did Hall Pass here
Yeah.
with Jason Sudeikis and Owen Wilson, and it was just starting to really ramp up. They were building studios, and it's just exploded. I mean, they've got a great tax credit here. So their tax credit is for every qualified dollar, you get 30 cents back. So you can imagine Marvel spending $300 million. They're coming to Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah.
And they built some great, there's a studio called Trilith that I'm affiliated with, Trilith, and it's the largest studio in North America. It's crazy.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
you gotta come visit sometime. I'll take you through it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do stand-up comedy, so next time I'm out there, I'll hit you up and you could come to the show and see my great stand-up.
Fantastic. I'm sure it's outstanding.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not as good as the guy I tour with. He's way better, but I'm a good opener. That's all I gotta say.
Cool. Who do
I
you
get
tour with?
I tour right now with TJ Miller.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, and I toured with Norm MacDonald for 9 years, so
Did you really?
yeah, and I actually had a question about Norm to you because I don't know if he was bullshitting me or if this was true. But we would go into the hotels and watch movies like Dumb and Dumber, Something About Mary, and literally Kingpin, like because that's all we did is just watch movies. And whenever your scene came on, Norm would be like, "Ah, that guy Rob." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Every audition, I lost to Rob." So I don't know. I don't know if he was fucking with me or what because Norm hated acting, but I don't know. But so is that true?
Well, I
Like,
got to tell you something. You just made my day. I mean, I'll have to ask Peter and Bobby if he was up for some of the roles.
oh yeah,
And I can't imagine that I beat Norm MacDonald out of anything. I mean, I am such a fan of that guy. I can't even tell you. Matter of fact, there's a actor named Nolan North,
okay,
and he is super talented. He's also he's in all the games, the big game. I'm not a gamer, but
right,
he's in the big games. Um, and he does these voices, and he does a Norm Macdonald like you can't even believe, and he kind of looks like him a little bit.
yeah.
So it's incredible. So I'm actually gonna talk to Pete Farrelly and Bobby about possibly. I mean, I can't imagine that a movie is not going to come out about Norm, and this guy would be fantastic to play the role.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I got so
You
many
you have the
Norm
same
stories.
delivery, Keith. You got the same delivery.
Oh, well, thank you. I do a great Norm impression too, because like he was my best friend, so like I could really nail it. But I think he was
Whoa,
screwing
whoa,
with
whoa,
me
whoa,
there.
whoa. We got to pause. We got to pause right now. You got to give me a little background on how you met Norm, and your life together. I mean, wow, I'm just so impressed. See, we're
Okay.
going to do really good in the ratings now because we're going to be talking about Norm. So this is good.
Yeah, that's also. I mean, I'll do it for you because I love you, but I don't like using that for clickbaits. But so I won't
Oh
really.
no, not at all. I'm
I
just so
won't
interested.
promote
I
that.
totally get it. No,
Um,
no, no, no. You're super sweet like that, and I know why because you loved him, and he was so talented and such a special, humble guy in so many ways. I'd love to know how you met.
so a little about me is I have a form of autism called Asperger syndrome, and when I was growing up, I was very nonverbal, and I did a lot of speech therapies and stuff. And my dream is always to be an actor, but I'm very bad at auditioning, and it's really hard when you stutter and stuff. So like I tried to figure out a way how do I become an actor, right? And then I would watch stand up comedy, and I'd see all these comedians become in movies. You know what I mean? And Norm
Yeah.
was my favorite stand up comedian, And I remember I was 18. I went to a comedy club and I didn't realize you had to be 21 to go in. So I snuck in and Norm was in the back and I was very like nonverbal and stuff. And I asked him for his autograph and he comes up to me and I come up to him. I was like, "Oh, can I have your autograph?" He signs it and I'm just not talking. He's like, "You don't say much, huh?" And I was just like, "No." He's like, "I kind of like that." I was like, "Oh." And then, he was so good, so I stayed for a second show, and I was just waiting there. So, like, I literally stalked him for the 5 shows, and then the next year I came again, and then eventually he's like, "Oh, I remember you. You should come hang out with me." And then, like, we just started talking, and my speech was getting better and stuff, and I told him I wanted to be a comedian, and then he said, "Well, if you know how to write jokes, let me look at some of your jokes." So show him some jokes, and he's like, "I'm going to try this to see if they're funny." And a couple of them worked on stage, so we became a friendship like that. And then when he thought I was good enough to do stand up with him, he let me open up for
Whoa,
him. Yeah,
what a gift.
yeah.
That's
So
wonderful. That says a lot about your talent too. And that's a wonderful story. That's incredible.
yeah, that was like a 13-year story I gave you in 2 minutes.
Yeah, no, no. That's by the way, I may be on the same spectrum at some point because that's about all I could handle on a story was about 2 minutes. So we are totally in sync.
Yeah. I'm surprised you've never tried stand-up comedy because you're so funny in the films. Like I like to
Uh,
say you have you have the sweet spot. You're the scene stealer and everything.
it's really nice of you to say that. Yeah, Pete, and Bobby are really gracious, and they've given me some great roles over the years for sure. I just, it's a wonderful, wonderful group of guys to work with. Our sets are like, like no other. I mean, it's the camaraderie, and we work with the same people over and over as much as we can until after COVID, things changed a little bit because the studios are going through kind of a reshuffling and but before that, like from Dumb and Dumber, Kingpin, something about Mary, Me, Myself, and Irene, Hall Pass, what else? Shallow Hal. I mean, it was just so much fun. It was just such a great experience working with those guys, and the sets were just filled with wonderful people and great times, great parties, and had a lot of visitors would come just to be a part of it, just to hang on the set. Even if they weren't in the movie, actors would come by all the time.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about this, and I do apologize. This is one of the movies I haven't seen, but I looked on your resume and I thought you had the coolest character name. You did a movie called Police Story, and your character name was Chuck Stone. How cool is
It's like
that?
that. Chuck Stone was fantastic, and Police Story was actually during the writer's strike. They started to reshuffle old scripts
Yeah.
because writers couldn't write, and I was cast in this and played Chuck Stone in the show, and it was just wonderful. I mean, I felt like it sounds like a Quentin Tarantino character name, doesn't it? Chuck
It sounds
Stone.
cool, like catchy. I don't know. So like, and then you worked
It's
with
funny.
Jack Warden, who was the greatest character actor ever. So like, I was like, how cool is that? Like one of your first movies, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it was really neat because he was a tremendous guy and really a giving guy. Like I remember hanging out with him one time in his trailer and just I'm sitting there, I could pinch myself. I'm with Jack Warden, and talking to him about the old days. It was just I couldn't get enough of it. He was so cool.
Oh my god! When you introduced yourself to him, did you say your name was Chuck Stone? Like how?
No. Hey Jack, it's Chuck Stone. I should have. See, I needed your timing.
uh, and then Navy SEALs, which was one of my favorite movies growing up. Like that's a pretty cool movie too. So like, how was that experience? Because that was like your first blockbuster movie that you got, right?
It was amazing. And it was so weird because our business is so strange. Everybody says, well, it's all about contacts, it's all about this and about that. Well, that was a film that I literally went in and read for the director, Louis Teague, and the casting director, and got called back, and then I got offered the role, and I was just like, "This is crazy." I said, "This could actually work." I mean, it's like, wow, I just got a movie. And I remember I was doing a play with Woody Harrelson and a friend of mine, Clint Allen, at the time. This little play that Woody wrote. It was called 2-on-2, and it was on at the Court Theater on La Cienega Boulevard, and we actually had a basketball hoop up inside the theater,
Yeah.
inside, and we were three guys waiting for the fourth guy to show up, and it was just us talking while we shot around waiting for the fourth guy. And I remember right before the play, I go, guys, I think I got a movie called, I think I'm going to Spain. We shot it in Spain. I had just gotten married to Julie, and I remember turning my ticket in, my first class ticket, because that's how they had to fly you. And I got 2 business class tickets out of that. And I brought my wife over. She came over about a month after I started, but it was such a great cast of guys. Michael Bean, Charlie Sheen. Charlie was fantastic.
Yeah.
All these great guys, and just a wonderful cast. And being in Spain, I went to like 5 cities in Spain as a young actor. I had no idea, had never been out of the country. And it was just a blast to shoot a war movie. I mean, it was like we were carrying big guns around. I was in these crazy helicopters. I was on a aircraft carrier. I'm like, I could do this.
Yeah. You want to hear something funny? Is my father,
Yeah.
my biological father, he looks exactly like Charlie Sheen. I'm not gonna like literally like he's like a clone of Charlie Sheen, and his name is Charlie. So growing up, I always thought my father was Charlie Sheen. I was like, he's never here because he's making a movie.
Oh man. Well, you'll have to get Charlie on here at some point and
Oh, I've tried.
get him to do it.
Yeah, I've tried, but you know what
But
they
don't give
say.
up. Keep
Oh
trying.
no, you gotta keep trying. That's the thing. Like no, this sounds kind of creepy to say, but no to me just means try harder some other time or something. Like I don't understand. Like I understand the word no, but I also know no doesn't necessarily mean no all the time. Does that make sense?
Well, here's what you got to do. Yeah, absolutely. No, that is the way. That is the secret to life right there. It's
Yeah.
persistence.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten that a couple of times over my career, but I'm so glad you just reminded me of it because it's so important. But I'll tell you this: I want you to write Charlie again, and I want you to tell him, "Hey, I just did Rob Moran was on my show, and he was talking about what a great guy you were because we were talking about Navy SEALs, and
Yeah.
he told me to tell you that you should do it."
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah. I'll see if he responds.
See if he responds, man. Can't hurt.
Yeah.
Charlie, you better do it, Charlie.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you to do that favor with Zen, but I'll take Charlie.
With Zen?
Yeah, I love Zen. Zen's great.
Oh, I'll get you Zen. Yeah, you'll have Zen by the end of the week.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. And I don't know if this is true because you can't believe everything you read on the internet, but it said your college roommate was
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, you can't believe everything.
Oh, okay.
After college, I went to Emerson College, and then I got into an acting program at a regional theater called Actors Theater of Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky. And
Mhm.
it was the greatest experience of my life. I mean, it was just amazing being, it's a whole year program. It's almost like a condensed grad school of, at the end of it, you know whether you want to be in this business or not, because you're in every facet of the theater world.
Yeah.
So while I was there, they used to accept 8 guys and 8 girls from the country for the year, and I don't know how I got in, but I think that's where a friend might have helped me sneak in there under the cover of darkness. But it was a wonderful experience. The year I was down there, I got to see people like Kathy Bates work and Holly Hunter and some fantastic writers come down. But my buddy down there, and to this day, still one of my best friends, Clint Allen, he
Oh,
was in the program as well. And Clint was in college with Woody. And Woody would come down and visit us while we are at this at Actors Theater. And the three of us just started hanging out, and we all moved to New York together for a couple of years. And that's was quite a story. I mean, that was a blast. 3 years about in New York City on 51st between 8th and 9th, which is Hell's Kitchen, a really rough area at the time. Now I can't afford it, but back then it was the only place we could afford.
yeah.
And we had a great story, just a blast.
Well, if I had a lot of money, Rob, I would give it to you so you could relive that. Like, I'm all about I'm all about reliving amazing memories. So,
Well, you got my email, so if anything changes and this thing takes off, you let me know. Okay, I'll be
uh,
waiting.
yeah, if I ever get a movie, I want you to be in one of those scene stealer movies. Like, that's what I'm gonna
Awesome.
say. I'm gonna say I want Rob.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, or even if I get a sitcom, I'm a man of my word. Like with my Asperger's, I'm so brutally honest. So I promise you, it will happen if it ever happens for me. But you're in the
I'm pulling for you.
you're in the circle of the
I
razor
think
blade.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much.
But it's so funny about Woody Harrelson because like just when I read that like a memory of my grandfather, he's no longer with us, but I remember we were watching like this thing about documentaries about hitmans. And I don't, he was like this judge's best friend. This judge got killed, and he said that Woody Harrelson's father was accused of killing him. And I remember he was telling me this story, and then he's like, Woody Harrelson's a good actor too.
Great segue, right?
Yeah. And I just remember
Steve-
maybe that's how I got into comedy, just because it had nothing to do with the point.
Yeah, that's a great, yeah. Talk about a redirect.
Oh man. And then I wanted to ask you about We Married Margot because my buddy JD wrote that and you played yourself. And I wanted to know like how was that playing yourself?
That's right. Yeah, that was really cool, actually. It was really cool and a great experience. That was kind of like guerrilla filmmaking, you know what I mean? I mean, it
Yeah.
was like it was a really great experience. And it was the first time I kind of thought, you know what? I love when people just decide to do something and they just do it.
Yeah.
And that's what We Married Margot came out of. They just decided they're going to do it. They got together with some great friends. They raised a little bit of money and they did it. And it was a great experience. And it was really kind of funky playing yourself, right? It's
Yeah.
like,
It's like
is it
how do
really,
you
really
like
me? You know?
yeah.
I remember one time asking, like, how should I do the scene? And they were like, you know how to do the scene, just do the scene. I'm like, oh yeah, you got a point.
Yeah.
Just do it like myself.
The one cool thing about JD too is because you know he's because I also write scripts, so we'd send each other like for feedback and stuff. And JD is so successful because you know he got Robin Hood Men in Tights and that John Travolta movie
Yep.
that nobody liked, but it's still successful, right? So
Sure.
he's a star, but in every script I've read of his, he has so many errors, and I'm just thinking, how did he sell these?
You know, that's so funny. I guess when you're hot, they don't care if you leave out the period or misspell.
Oh no, it is way more errors. It's like there, where. Like it's just like because it's all about when you're reading a script about the tone, you know what I mean? Like that's how I try and imagine it. But
Yeah,
I think that that's so successful because you could not know how to edit and still sell stuff. It's great.
right. Exactly.
Ugh. And then
Yeah, no, exactly.
I wanted to ask you if this is also true, because again, you can't believe anything you read on the internet. But is it true that
True.
you did three different characters on Days of Our Lives? And if so, how do you do that? Like that's kind of
I had a casting director for days. Her name, she's no longer with us. She was probably one of actors' favorite casting director. Her name was Fran Bascom,
Mhm.
and she worked out of on the lot at Columbia uh, that was attached to Warner Brothers at the time. And she was a really special lady. I met her, believe it or not, at Actors Theater of Louisville that time after college, that program. She came, a lot of casting people would come and watch what was going on there. It was kind of a nucleus of really cool stuff that was coming out of there. Interesting plays, interesting actors. And I met Fran, and after New York, when I moved to LA, I contacted her, and she was just such a support. She would audition me for everything.
Yeah.
And literally, I think the first role I played on days, I was a rapist. I was
Wow.
a rapist. Yeah, it was crazy. My mother was devastated when I was like so excited I got a role, and then when she found out what it was, and then I played, oh gosh, what was it? Then I played another role that kind of like was a longer role, trying to think of who it was. And then I played the mayor.
Holy Lord.
And
Totally
no, I
different
mean, the
areas.
mayor. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure people are like, wait a second, I know this guy. Well, I never asked any questions though, right? So I just showed up and Keith, I'll never forget this. It was after 9/11. It was like a year anniversary to 9/11, right?
Right.
And we were doing a show to uh, kind of like we were going to dedicate something from our city to commemorate the whole setup, and it was basically me making a speech to the whole town. So what I'm trying to get at and is that the whole cast was there, and it was the end of the day, and I had like honestly, I had like a 5-page speech, and I had to memorize it, right? Because so I almost turned the role down. It was like the first day of the mayor, and my girlfriend was oh, what's her name? Oh gosh, the girl with the lips, the actress with big lips.
I've never seen Days of Our Lives, so you're on your own, Rob.
Yep, she's great. She's a great actress, and she's married to Harry Hamlin. Who's that?
I could Google it real fast if you want me to.
Hold on, I got to do this because if this is embarrassing, guys, you might have to cut this out.
We gotta give people their
Educate.
proper respects.
Absolutely, absolutely. Personal life. Oh wait, Hamlin.
Wait, you
Ursula
said Harry
Andrews.
Mestauer?
Lisa Renna.
Oh, okay. Lisa Renner.
You
All
know who
right.
she is?
No, but
Yeah,
she's great.
yeah. No, she's on like Housewives of Beverly Hills or something like that now. Anyway, she played my girlfriend at the time, and the point of the story is that I'm rambling, but the whole cast was looking at me like, "Hey, we want to go home, so don't mess this up." And I
Oh
was
my god.
panicked because I'm like, "How am I going to get through this speech?" And I remember somebody come up to me going, "Hey, do you want cue cards?" And I'm like, "Cue cards? I didn't even know we could have cue cards." And they said, "Yeah, but it's too late now because we're about to shoot. They got to write all this stuff down on these big cards and they hold it up in the back." I would have loved that. So anyway, point of the story is, and I'm not good at memorizing. I'm telling you, I'm not good at memorizing. And God was so good that day. I got through the whole speech
Oh my
like in 2
god.
takes. No, Keith, it was amazing. And like at first they were all looking at me with like daggers in their eyes. They're like, "You're gonna keep us here so long, it's gonna be a nightmare." And then afterwards, everyone's coming up to me, "Hey, great job." And all they were saying was, "I'm so glad you got through that so we can go home."
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. But that's like the cool thing because on movies, if you're not memorized, you could keep filming over and over until you get it right. And they actually enjoy that because it's different takes and they could edit it. But on like shows like that, they'll maybe give you 2 or 3 tries, but they have to keep filming because Days of Our Lives has been around since 1920. You know what I mean? So they got to, you know what I mean? They got to keep the show flowing.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's incredible.
Yeah, I was gonna binge it, but then I just found out it was, 100 seasons. I was like, "Ah, I love you, Rob, but,
No, don't worry about that one. That's funny.
uh" And then I wanted to ask you about Your Next, which I actually like horror movies. And the thing that I always thought Your Next would be like the next big horror franchise. And the cool thing about it was horror comedy too, which a lot of people now are doing, but it was like one of the nice original horror comedies.
No two ways about it. And I got a call about that. My agent said, "Hey, listen, you've been offered a role in this thing called You're Next, but it's a horror film." And I'd never done a horror movie, you know.
Yeah.
And then I read it and I did a little research on the director, Adam, who's incredible and had a huge following, super smart guy. And I said, "Well, just make sure, is there any frontal nudity where my genitals are cut off?"
Right.
And he said, "No, there's not." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And I went to it was shot in Missouri at the university, and we had a ball. We were in this big old mansion, this old house on this golf course, and it was my first experience in that genre, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
And and about 2 years later, they made it on a shoestring budget. I got a call from the producers, and they're like, "Hey, we got into uh, we got into the Toronto Film Festival," and I was like, what
Oh my
film? I didn't even remember the film. And they
Yeah.
go, "Oh, you remember You're Next, the one with the masks and all?" I said, "Oh, that's fantastic." They go, "Could you come up?" And I said, "Sure, I'll come up." And I went up there and we did the whole red carpet thing. And Keith, it was amazing. This was my intro to this genre because the theater held like 2,000 people, and there was 1,000 people outside trying to get in. They had to add another screening.
Oh,
So it
how
was just
cool is
this
that? Oh my God.
it was just amazing. So we had a Q&A after this. The whole group went up on stage, and the movie went over really well. There were a lot of laughs, and people were scared. And no, that was a great experience. My first time in that arena.
Yeah. I'm so surprised they haven't made like multiple sequels on that because like it was a nice original story that like I said, I thought for sure it would be like the next Saw franchise. You know what I mean? A new one every
Yeah,
year.
it could. Yeah, no, it could. Unfortunately, I was killed, so I'd never.
You
Most
could
of the
come back in
cast was killed.
flashbacks. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe I could come back as the father that would like really abuse that boy who was my son, and that's why he was killing us.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
it.
And then every single
Keith?
movie they give you a 2 minute scene, right? So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you could really milk this. You could be like,
Yeah.
like
All
like
right, buddy. You got to write it.
we gotta do it. Like you're next two. I didn't really like my son. You're next three. He had issues. You know, just keeps going on. But but now we should probably talk about me, myself, and Irene. Because you were for the greatest law trooper in the land, you were the bad guy. And I don't think people
I know
realize
it.
that.
It's true. I was undercutting my buddy Jim Carrey
Yeah.
all through that film,
The
and that
whole
was my
thing.
second film with Jim. You know, and I'd done Dumb and Dumber and got to know him, and we were all just in awe of Jim on Dumb and Dumber. You can imagine it was just it was just the craziest, most incredible adventure watching Jim Carrey work on Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
And then to get cast as his partner in Me, Myself, and Irene was just off the charts. I mean, it was just, and our trailers were right next to each other. His trailer was a little larger this time than the last movie
Oh
I
yeah,
did with
yeah.
him. So he had the push out, and it went on forever. My trailer was the same size, but I was happy to be in it. So
Did
we had
they
a
use
great
the
time. And
same
of course,
trailers for you?
same size trailer. But Renee was there. She was a doll, and it was another great experience. And Anthony Anderson, of course, was one of the guys, one of the twins in there. And
Triplets, yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure you could get away with that movie today. Do you think you could?
I think that you could get away with so many movies. I just think, like I said, it's about tone. Like now we're in this whole climate where we gotta respect people and all that stuff. But if you think about it this way, and maybe this might get me canceled, I don't know, but I'm not cancelable because I'm not famous. But you gotta think about it this way. I don't think it was anyone's tone to offend anyone when movies like that were made. I think their tone was just to make people laugh. Does that make
That's
sense?
a really great observation. Yeah, no, that's an excellent observation because there wasn't any malice behind any of that.
Yeah.
Now it seems like they're all shooting, if there is a scene, it's really meant to hurt somebody or make a comment on some political affiliation or some person of something. It really does. That's a great point. I never thought about that. Like, we weren't like that barbecue scene when I'm cutting up when Jim's cooking the sausages.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
weren't trying to make fun of anybody. We were just goofing on Jim,
Yeah.
on his character, on Charlie in the scene.
And see, I look at it, and maybe it's just with my Asperger's or whatever, like my superpower to turn things around. I look at it as a compliment, like when you were making fun
I
of
would
those.
agree.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah,
because
no, and I think that's how the Farrellys do it. I mean, I really do think that there's not a bad bone in the Farrelly brothers. They support everybody. They're behind everybody. They lift people up. I mean, they're really. It's there. I was really lucky and blessed to be working with these guys as long as I have been. So, and I hope it continues.
oh yeah, for sure. And if not, you still got me.
There you go. There you go.
Uh I wanted to ask you a quick question about Dumb and Dumber when you were the bartender, because I don't know anything about being a bartender, but I do know if a superstar like Jim Carrey's right there and he's having a scene with Victoria, and you're just like the middleman, like, were you like thinking maybe I should pour drinks or should I watch this or like how were you like? Because you had the funniest scene when he like picks you up. He's like, "What's that supposed to mean?" He's like, "She eats here." So like, I just want like, how do you what were you thinking? Like, how do you do that as a character actor like that?
That's great. Great question. And it's so funny. I probably overthink that like crazy right now at my age. But
Yeah,
as a kid, I mean, what was that, 22 years ago,
yeah,
maybe?
maybe,
And yeah,
maybe.
and I was just so happy to be there. And I was just kind of like listening, cleaning glasses, and just watching what was going on, knowing I had to come back over and give him a beer, give him a free beer because
Yeah,
he'd been there. Of course, he'd been there since like 10 in the morning, right? Remember, he
yeah.
came in really early.
I was gonna
And
ask how many beers you gave him.
yeah, I probably gave him more than I should have, but and his reaction when I gave him the beer was so funny. Remember, he was like, "Woohoo!" Like big
Yippee!
deal. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah, no, it was Jim was so great. You just had to get on the bus with Jim and hold on. You didn't have to worry about doing too much or thinking about too much. You would just kind of react from whatever he was saying. I remember one time we were doing a take and of course I had black hair back then and he yelled at me and he called me Eddie Munster. And
Oh,
because I have kind of like an Eddie Munster haircut at the time for that role. And uh, he is he is something. I mean, just a great guy, and what he's given us on screen, right?
yeah, definitely. Now, even though you didn't have a scene with him, I was wondering, did you ever meet Jeff Daniels? Because that I feel Dumb and Dumber was more Jeff Daniels's movie, and Jim Carrey was actually the second, even though like
Ah,
in reverse. You know what I mean? Like it
it
was
was it
promoted the
was
reverse.
totally, and I gave Jeff. You got to give Jeff such credit for jumping in there. I think everyone told him not to do the role,
Yeah.
and uh, I did get to spend a lot of time with Jeff on Dumb and Dumber and Dumb and Dumber Two when we shot there in Atlanta. I worked on the production side of that, and Jeff's such a great guy. He drove down in a Winnebago uh, from like I think it's like Wisconsin. He drove down in a Winnebago, and that's where he lived while we were shooting Dumb and Dumber Two. It was really cool, uh, and to jump in both feet like he did, it just shows what a great actor he is to commit 110% to that role. I mean,
Yeah. Definitely.
He was so funny in that, and I don't think a lot of people would have cast Jeff Daniels in that role, but and they would have it would have been a mistake not to cast him. He was just so good, and he supported Jim so well. They played off each other so well.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because like if you watch that movie without Jeff Daniels, I mean, it still probably would be funny, but it wouldn't really have the heart and the chemistry. And then vice
Yeah,
versa, where if you watch it without Jim Carrey, you could really get a feel for the jokes because Jeff Daniels is the one who's actually setting up the jokes.
that's right. He was a great dumb straight man, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
was just like some of his responses were just priceless.
Yeah. Hey Rob, I want to respect your time. Are we good? Because I have 5 more questions. But
Let's
I w
go. Let's
Oh,
go.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I know you're a busy man and, so question number 1, I wanted to ask you about something about Mary, because in the scene, Richard Tyson's beating up Ben Stiller, right? And I don't know if this was in the script or it was just something you ad-libbed it, but I watched it 1,000 times, and I feel maybe you ad-libbed it because it was just so in the moment. You go up to Richard and you say, "Are you okay?" And it was just so funny because Stiller's the one who just got his ass kicked. So I wanted to know, was that in the
That's
script or was that something you just thought of in the moment?
That just came out of the moment. That was just an ad lib, and Pete and
Oh
Bobby give
yeah.
us such good call, good call. Pete and Bobby give us such leeway, to really do and play around and have a good time. And yeah, I thought it was so funny that Ben was getting the snot beat out of him, and Richard is just, and I'm worried about Richard. Like, did you get hurt at all when you were slamming his head into the table? That was a joke, so I'm glad you got it. That's great.
Oh my god, I'm because maybe it's just because like as a comic you kind of get a vibe of when someone's ad-libbing or something. But like I had a strong feeling. I was like, oh my god. Because that actually made
That's
that
so
scene
funny.
way more funnier because Stiller's like, what the hell is wrong with you? And then you play he says it like, okay, you're gonna say it to him, but you turn it to Richard. It's the old reversal. And then I wanted to ask you about Kingpin, because I just interviewed Vanessa Angel, and
Oh,
uh,
cool.
yeah, not to brag, Rob, but I'm kind of engaged to her. I proposed to her on my podcast, and she said she'll let me know next time I interview her. So I'm taking that as a yes. But
That's certainly a maybe, right? That's certainly a maybe. It's not a no. I would
it's
definitely
not a
say,
no,
I'm not
no.
sure. She's the sweetest person and one of the most beautiful creatures ever to walk the earth. And she's just as nice as she is pretty. I mean, that's the great thing about Vanessa.
But she's also very funny, and that's why I wanted to ask you is like how is it like because in that movie you were main squeeze that she was trying to get away from, and like how because she says so much funny stuff, and you just ping pong back at it. Like how does that chemistry work? Like do you like before you start filming, do you go out to lunch with your coworkers and get a chemistry with that? Because that was like perfect, you know what I mean? Nice rhythm and stuff.
That would be the best case scenario to be able to get to know somebody you're about to work with. Unfortunately, the way they shoot these days, a lot of times you don't get that. I mean, there is no rehearsal, right? The rehearsal happens about, a minute before you shoot the scene.
Yeah.
One of the great things about the Farrelly set is that camaraderie is there. So when people come in, they feel really welcome and relaxed, and the vibe is there to try whatever you want. Vanessa is a really strong comic, comedic actress. I mean, she really is. To be able to play that the way she did such an incredible job, working off people and playing the straight man at times. And I mean, when she goes to the freezer and turns around, I mean, that's just fantastic. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
just like she doesn't blink an eye. She's just like perfect. And Woody, of course, can't even, you know, compose himself. And then
Yeah.
Randy goes, but I remember like when we were doing something about Mary. I arrived in down in Miami, and they Pete had left a message to meet him. They did a lot of night shooting in Miami, which is a blast, you can imagine. So Pete said, "Meet us at this bar," which was a dive bar with a pool table in it, off the beaten paths. And I went down there, and as I'm walking in the door, there's a group, the whole cast and crew are hanging at this bar. Cameron Diaz is sitting right in the middle of the bar. She happens to turn around. She hears the door open. She looked at me and goes, "What are you drinking?" And I go, "Heineken." And next thing I know, she hands it through the whole crowd. And that was kind of like my first moment on set of Something About Mary. And it was like, I'm like, wow, how great is that? Never met the girl in my life. She just gave me a beer and we're going to do this great movie together. So it was a blast.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about Cameron Diaz. My grandfather, when he was alive, he lived in Seal Beach, and my he wasn't a liar, so I know this story's true, but I think he might have like over jammed it. So he said that
Yeah.
he fixed her roof and that they're friends and they hang out all the time. I do believe he fixed her roof and they, maybe went out to lunch once, but
Wow.
I don't believe they were friends or whatever. So I remember I was like, "How's Cameron?" He's like, "Oh, well, I keep asking her to do the mass too, just for you." And like, that's how sweet my grandfather was. You know what I mean? So,
How cool. How cool. Even if he went out to lunch with her after fixing the roof, how great is that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But, this is also the same guy who tells you a story and then says, "So and so is a great actor." Like, he's just not on point.
That's definitely where you get your funny bone.
Yeah. So, I want,
Did your grandfather ever meet? Did your grandfather ever meet Norm?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, but he didn't ever got to see me open up for him. So,
Okay.
he did meet Norm when because I was Norm's friend first before I became his coworker. And like maybe that's why I'm good at talking with celebrities because I don't look at that word celebrities. I think of them as like I'm in the same business, so I'm in the same circle, even though I might not be.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
sure.
Like
No, you are. You're definitely, and you're very good at what you do. That's really awesome.
I could pivot in, pivot out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. So I wanted to ask you about Zen, which we already got this cleared because you said you're going to hook it up. I was going to ask you if Zen owes you any favors.
I got you, Zen. Zen and I are very close. We're good buddies.
Oh, awesome.
He's married to Peter Farrelly's sister.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cindy and Cindy Farrelly Gessner, who I've known for a long time. So it's like a big family. And Zen and Cindy have three incredible sons, and it's a great family. And yeah, Zen would be great to interview. So I'll definitely set that up.
All right, Rob, you the man. You the man. I like that. Yeah. I just thought he was so funny as Randy Quaid's brother. Like the guy goes all the way halfway across the country to get Randy Quaid.
The greatest scene in Kingpin to me was when Randy Quaid, after they take him out on a night of debauchery, and he's never supposed to drink or have sex or anything like that because he's Amish, and he wakes up, totally in a stupor, hungover, and he gets up and he looks in the mirror and he sees this tiny little tattoo of a flower on his, or a heart or something on his chest, and he starts
Yeah.
walking towards the mirror and he's like, oh, oh, he's like beside himself, right? Because he's actually defaced his body. And as he walks by the screen, his whole back is like this chick riding a rocket tattoo, with her breasts out. It's just the greatest. It's the greatest reveal I think I've ever seen.
Oh, it's great.
Peter's Bobby was just so awesome in that.
Uh, Speaking of tattoos, do you happen to have any tattoos or is that something you don't want to share?
No, I'd share it with you in a second. I don't have any tattoos at the moment.
Uh,
You never know. I did tell my daughters that if they did get a tattoo, I would get the exact tattoo, but larger in the same area wherever they get it. So
oh,
they have not gotten a tattoo yet either. Although I do remember, Keith, years ago, I'm driving around LA and tattoos were not a thing,
no.
but they just weren't. I mean, sailors get tattoos.
Yeah.
Um, and I started looking on every corner. Uh, Jerry Seinfeld makes a joke about how many eyeglass stores there are and sunglass stores there are. How are there that many people that wear sunglasses or eyeglasses? But I started to see all these tattoo parlors popping up, and I'm like, no one, who is advising these people?
Right.
What kind of business is this? And sure enough, a couple years later, the whole world's tattooed. It's incredible. So somebody was way ahead of the game. But yeah, maybe I'll get the tattoo Randy had on his back.
That'd be
Um,
cool for the 30th
that'd be neat.
anniversary, right? Or the
Yeah,
30.
that'd be great if we all get together and then at the end of it, I'll just take my shirt off and turn around and I'll make
Eh,
Randy sign
oh my God. But he
it.
has the tattoo sign it.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah, we'll get a tattoo artist over there and he's got zzz. I'll be
uh,
screaming in agony like in front of everyone.
yeah. I mean, I agree with you, but my father is very not to get political or whatever, but my father is very against tattoos. He thinks like if you have a tattoo, it means you're a punk or not a good person and stuff. And but on the other side, I have 2 tattoos and I had to fight him for that, and they're very
I'm
sentimental.
sure.
I have one for Pop and one for Norm, and, so, like, I feel tattoos are good if you could live with them. Like, I've interviewed people who have tattoos, they say, "Oh, I've regretted getting it," but I don't think I would ever regret my tattoos. Does that make sense? Because it's like,
Total
uh
sense. And one of the things I'm kind of I'm into tattoos. I really am. And I haven't like I thought like I'm of Irish descent and I wanted something like, from Ireland or something about my dad who passed about 5 years ago. His birthday's today. He would have been 95. How about
oh
that?
my god. Well,
Yeah,
happy
I
I'm
know.
sorry he passed, but what a great day.
Yeah, me too. He was my best friend and we were really close, probably like you and your pop. And but yeah, I haven't figured. I'll let you know when I find the right thing to ink my body with.
We should get tattoos together when I go to Atlanta.
Hey,
We could be
that would be
tattoo
cool.
brothers. Oh my god. I'm so excited
Let's
for
do
this.
it.
Okay, cool. It'll have to be something small, so like no one can notice, but it will still mean something. You know what I mean?
That's great.
All right.
Hey, I saw you had Jennifer Tilly on.
Oh yeah, I love Jennifer Tilly.
Now, oh no, I was thinking she did a movie with Gina Gershon, but I was just thinking I went to college with a girl named Jennifer Coolidge. Have you had Jennifer on yet?
No, I would love to have Jennifer Coolidge on. She's so funny. But
She's hysterical, isn't
I've
she?
tried, yeah. And the cool thing about her is like, she just now got super famous. Like she's a
Yep.
megastar, but she's been doing it
Yep.
forever, ever. And like
Yeah.
that's such an inspiration to me because it's like I would love to be a megastar, but you gotta put in the work. And she's such a success story, how like she proves to you that things don't happen overnight. So even if you're a character actor or you have a little scene, that's still success. You're still climbing the mountain. So that's what I
There you
love.
go.
That's what I love about people like that.
That's a great story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. And so my last question for you, Rob, is if you could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of yourself, it could be from yesterday or when you were a kid, and tell yourself advice that you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Keith, this is going to blow your mind. So lately, I told you I lived in New York City with Woody Harrelson and Clint Allen, two of my best friends,
Yeah.
and we stay in touch all the time. And about a year ago, we decided that those 2 years, 2.5 years in New York were so incredible that we had to kind of like we thought let's do a series about that. It was so these young actors coming to New York City, living in a shithole, and how they survived and what they went through and the ups and the downs. Clint went to Juilliard. Woody would have he'd get a job on Monday and by Friday he'd be fired.
Yeah.
And I was dabbling in some commercial stuff. I started getting some commercials and making a couple of bucks, and it was just such a unique, really wonderful time. Just magical for us. I mean, we just did some crazy stuff. So we started Zooming like every couple of weeks. We'd get on a Zoom for just 1 hour. We didn't want to go over, and Clint started to write some of this down. The point of the story is that we're going to play roles in that where we talk to our younger selves
Oh my
and
God.
give them advice. Yeah, yeah.
That's like
So
my
you're spot
question.
on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So it's like at one scene, like this young Rob Moran comes in and he's sitting at a bar, and I'll play the bartender, and he'll be complaining or whining or celebrating something, and I'll give him a little advice.
Yeah.
And then in the next scene, you know, Woody might be talking to his younger self. Just little tidbits of information, right? Nothing earth shattering, but that's the premise of the show.
Oh, that's awesome. You know what would be cool is if you do it on the movies that you've done and like refilm, but use different dialogue. Like, for example, something about Mary, when you tell Richard, "Are you okay?" Maybe you say, "Hey, you want to go get a drink?" or something, you know, like just keep doing different tag jokes.
That's a
I don't know.
that's a great idea. That's a great. I bet that would go viral if we did that, right?
Let's
Just change things up and send it out.
let's do it. I mean, yeah. But like it won't be made for seriousness. It was just made for like joke
Sure.
stuff. So
Yeah.
like I think that
No,
would be fun.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you said that because I thought for sure you were going to say, "Hey, if I could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of myself, I would be like, hey, Rob, this is Rob from 2024. I just want you to know if this kid named Keith Reza asks you to do his podcast, say no."
I should have. If I was a little more on it, Keith. I see you're the comedian. I got to take a page out of your book. Absolutely.
Ah, well,
How do we
Rob.
unrecord this thing?
Well, Rob, where can the folks at home follow and support you, or do you not want to be followed and supported? Because I know you don't have
You know
social media.
what? My brother said to me today, I'm kind of like I was on the cusp, Keith, and I really don't. I wish I did, but let me. I think I think I have a Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I I think it's Rob Moran. I don't know. Let me see here. Yeah, I think I'm on Facebook. Rob Moran's on Facebook somewhere, and I'm
Okay.
trying to get into it now. I'm trying to understand it, and it's been a journey for me. But my brother was basically calling me out for saying, You blew it, buddy. You should definitely have a presence on what do you call social media." But I don't, and I'm going to try to, Keith. So I'll let you know.
But that's also one of the beautiful things about you is, you know, like I said, it was very hard finding interviews you've done because I try not to ask the same questions, and I do apologize if you've heard some of the same ones, but it's very unique about you, like very mysterious. Like my friend Jake Weber, who's an actor, he doesn't do interviews at all, and he did mine, and it's just like very, I don't know. I think there's something intriguing and unique about that too. So I don't think you
You
have
know,
to
it's
have.
funny. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I don't really feel like it's an interview, I don't look at it that way. If I had to, when you're doing movies, you got to do press, and those are uncomfortable. I mean, those are the same questions over and over again, and it's really not a conversation. And you kind of just get through those. But I didn't look at this as an interview at all. I looked at it as kind of getting to know you, meet you, and I learned so much about your life and the whole norm of it all. And I'll keep in touch with you and let you know if we move any further. If we do move further on this norm thing, I'd like you to be a part of it.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'll for sure do
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that would be
you
great.
could be super helpful and look up Nolan North, okay?
Norland North.
Nolan North, and I'll get you. You can do an interview with him too. When you do a little research on him, you're going to be like, "Oh my God, he was the guy in that game that Mark Wahlberg played the role and did that movie that
Yeah.
just came out a couple years ago." So I'm not a gamer, like I said, but he's a great guy, and I'll get Zen for you too.
Oh, that would be awesome, Rob. Thank you so much. And I would love for you to do it again in the future and stuff. I have a good in Atlanta. We'll get tattoos, and I'll show you my stand up, and it will be fantastic.
I'd love to come. I'd love when you come to see your stand up. So definitely. And one thing I do want to tell you is that we're doing. I can mention it here. This will be the first time we're mentioning it on any PR or on any social media. We're taking the movie Something About Mary to Broadway as a musical.
Whoa! Oh my
Yep. So you got
God!
the breaking news. And I had my first call at 2 o'clock today with the producers. And Pete and I have been working on this for a while now, and Pete's going to oversee the whole thing. And our producers, John Johnson and Sue Wagner, just won Best Play for Stereophonic, which is on
Whoa,
Broadway now. So the next thing they're going to do is something about Mary as a Broadway musical. So buckle up.
that's gonna be great. How are you guys gonna find Lee Evans though? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Great question, right?
he fell off the
Yeah.
radar. Like he was
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
well,
No,
Ro-
it's going to be something. So,
well, Rob, air Zoom high five, and thank you so much. It was an honor, and thank you for being my best friend for an hour. I appreciate it.
oh, I really enjoyed it, Keith. Stay in touch, and I hope much success comes your way. And when you get that, when you do become that megastar, remember me, will you?
You have my word. You're the first person in it. Like
Great.
that's a word from a comedy brother right there. It's unbreakable.
Thank you, buddy.
All
You
right,
have a
Rob.
great day.
Have a great day, pal.
Take care.
All right. All right, guys. That was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and we'll see you guys next week.